and home again. Sad to say, I am on my third round of the flu this year. January 1st, had the flu, had to go to the hospital. A month and a half later, maybe 2 months later, got the flu again. Just a little taste of it, wasn't bad. And the other day, I woke up sneezing, hacking, didn't want to get out of the bed, drowsy, just kept sleeping. Me to make me go to the doctor, and they boom swabbed me up for the flu again. So I've been having a lot of situations with the flu. Had more flu this year than I've had in the past 20 years. Now, the one thing I've done different, and I may have had the flu in the past. However, in the past, it probably hadn't affected me because I usually do superfood and different stuff like that. Hey, Donovan, thank you. I appreciate your support. Thanks for watching. All that kind of good stuff. So I appreciate you watching. So, 5 days out of work, I guess. I try not to contaminate anybody else, like some people don't mind doing. So I'm just kind of chilling out at home, catching up on some video stuff, checking out some different things I need to do different. One of the things I need to do is activate a join me button on my page. There are people that man love to support me. Make it easy for them. Hit a join button. I'm still, I guess my hourly rate, the thing that I get paid when I am able to show up to help somebody, is still low. It's, man, probably dang 25% of what some dealers charge, and probably 35% of what some mechanics charge, normal mechanics. But anytime somebody has me come to them and help them in that capacity, the first few hours they usually have to consume some of my daily expense of being somewhere. Like an example, I went to Chicago and I stayed night in a hotel. I gotta get a couple meals for me and Mita. Those first 3-4 hours, they're probably paying $90 an hour. Then anytime after that, they got me for 50 an hour, which is good. A couple days ago, I met with a guy. I traveled about 2 hours. I worked on this car for about 6 hours. I replaced the ABS module. I replaced a heater core. I fixed a couple other things. Let me see what all I did on his car. And man, let me pull up his list, because that guy got a lot taken care of for, we thought, not too much money. Let me see what we had here. I serviced the transmission. I replaced the heater core. I replaced the fuel light bulbs, got his tail lights sorted out. I replaced an ignition switch, installed a battery clamp. I fixed his cruise control, fixed his air conditioning. He had a bad clutch gap on that. And installed a battery clip. A couple other little petty things. He was able to get all that done, pay for my travel and my travel time for about $660. Man, I hear people get a heater core replaced for $550. They're thrilled. I don't know why they are, but they are thrilled. So I'm gonna go back to him, take care of a couple other things. So sometimes people really get a good win. I mean, getting your air conditioning fixed and your cruise control fixed. When I got there, he had about 3 or 4 lights on his dash. When I left, he didn't have any on there. So that's a good thing. So I still have a desire to get out there and save people money while I'm doing good work on these cars. You know, if you got a Volvo, especially the P80 Volvos, S70s, 850s, those kind of vehicles, V70s before 2001, man, I really want to help you save money. So that's what's going on, you know. Anybody got any questions or anything they want to ask? I can probably answer some questions since I'm sitting here and not driving or anything like that. I can answer questions and stuff. Let me see if I can watch the chat over here, if there's a chat going on. I appreciate the well wishes from Lithuania. Man, that's kind of out there. Do, 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 do. When you going to make it back to Chicago area? Man, Chicago's like my second home. I was planning to be back there Saturday. I have a doctor's appointment Friday, an eye exam to get my glasses renewed, stuff like that. And then I was going to go to Chicago and spend maybe 3-4 days in that area, and then head out west to Lincoln, Nebraska, and then to Albuquerque for a couple days, and then to Sedona, Arizona, then probably up to Las Vegas, and then or down into the Phoenix area, either or, and then back to Las Vegas, back into Southern Cal, and then work my way up the coast. Happy to Helena, Montana. Man, that sounds like a place you have to. Man, you know, I get invitations and people ask me if I could come their way and help. And a lot of times I can. However, I do need like a formal invitation, kind of like somebody needing some work because traveling is so expensive. Uh, so I drive from here to Chicago, it's 5 hours. The gas is, you know, 40, $50, something like that. Then I got to stay in a hotel. So it's like, it's expensive moving around. People that travel around, they know it's expensive. So I got to have some work to do, you know, in that area. Now, if I'm passing through and that's kind of en route to a place where I could bed down and stay the night, man, I'd be glad to hang out for an evening, uh, stay a night in the area, or if I got to pay for a hotel in the area anyway, I'll do that. Hang out for a few hours and then go to bed, wake up the next morning, continue my trip. Now, it is almost impossible for me to go back through YouTube comments and find these invitations. So you need to call me, preferably text me, and sometimes email me at my Gmail email address. My Gmail email address is, let's see here, rspIwin@gmail.com. And that's the best way to email me if you want to. There may be a couple other email addresses floating around. That's the one that hits my phone. That's the one I check almost daily. Sometimes I don't get to check it daily. So, you know, I do what I can on checking that stuff. So if I get a formal invitation, somebody want me to do work in that area, general area, or I pass through that area, I'll be glad to stop and do what I call meet and greet. Me and my wife, we don't really drink alcohol. We don't smoke. You know, we get a lot of invitations on smoking, different stuff. But man, we don't need that to enjoy ourselves. You know, I'm a pretty decent person, I think, sober. You don't want to intoxicate me. I can be a little silly sober, but you intoxicate me, I'm not responsible. And my wife, you know, I do all I can to keep her strings tight, and we don't want to intoxicate that either. So we do fair, you know, sober. So, but we have a great time sober. You know, things that I wish I could do more of is fishing. I'm gonna try to get my fishing trip in Canada this year. But man, you know it's expensive not working. You know, every day that you don't work, you don't get paid. And if you're traveling somewhere, then it costs you to stay places like here. If I went fishing around here, I don't have any hotel fees. I can eat at home, pack my lunch. It's cheap if I fish from home. But man, how I would love to fish at some of you guys' fishing spots, but it'd be expensive. That's why I was going to do that deal with the fish and work or whatever I call that. Coined that thing, and man, it just didn't work out. I wish it would have. So I guess to get back to Irvin's question, I will probably be back in the Chicago area hopefully by Wednesday. I'm not working because I'm kind of under the weather right now. So hopefully I'll start back doing some light work Saturday, do some more Sunday, get some heavy work done here that I was supposed to do yesterday, Monday, probably Tuesday, and then hopefully head out Wednesday. Yeah, Irvin, I did get the text list that you got there. So, not sure where Helena, Montana is, but hey, if I go up to Seattle, I plan on heading back home across those upper states and maybe hit a state or two that I've never been to before. I don't know if I've ever stopped in Montana for anything, so that would definitely be a treat for me and probably Lemonade to stop in Montana, stay a night or two, and I hear they got some long, straight, empty roads. That might be some fun driving. If Mita falls asleep, I can make up some time. She doesn't really like me making up time while she's awake. So, have I been to the North Carolina area? I have spent a lot of time in North Carolina area, and I tell people if I had to choose one or two places to live away from here, it would be in Chicago or the North Carolina area. North Carolina area is just very comfortable to to live in. The climate's great. I got brothers and sisters that live there. North Carolina's sweet. I kind of like it. Let me see what's going on with my battery on my phone. For some reason, it said I had 20% left, but my battery says 80%. Not sure what that warning was all about. So yeah, I've been to North Carolina. I hope to go back. Man, I also in Virginia, which is right next to North Carolina. If I have somebody that says, "Hey, Robert, I need you to come help me with this job," then I got work to do in North Carolina. And get my tail out there, you know. So, Jeremy, what do I use for cleaning the mass airflow sensor walls? Man, you don't want to do nothing in that mass airflow sensor. I don't know how your mass airflow sensor would get dirty other than if you use some cone filter that had too much oil on it or one of those K&N filters. They have mass airflow sensor cleaner. You open that thing up, you spray around in those walls, I guess. Spray that sensor a little bit, not much. You really shouldn't have to clean mass airflow sensor, especially the old style. But the new style, you can hit it with some cleaner and let it dry out. Whatever you do, don't touch that sensor. The last one I touched, it had like three little computer chips or boards kind of sticking out there, and I bumped one of those with the straw. Thing snapped right off. It was like, how that happened? It broke so easy that I was amazed. But there goes $238 for a mass airflow sensor. So I would really recommend not messing with those things unless you have to. But you can clean them off. I don't know if it matters much. Like I said, unless you're using some oiled filter in front of it. Other than that, you keep a good filter on that thing, and that thing should stay clean. Not the heating like the metal that is not on the sides of the sensor. Those heated as well. I think the only thing that's heated in those old style mass airflow sensors is those really thin wires. You know, those. Other than that, you can spray in there and you should be okay. So somebody put here, my friend has a 2001 2.4 non-turbo. He got the wrong timing belt tensioner. Is it safe for him to drive with the old timing belt tensioner for 2 weeks until a new part arrives? If that tensioner is busted, no. If the tensioner works, sure. You know, I've done it before. I mean, if you're changing these parts according to their scheduled maintenance, timing belt parts on that car, I think it's like 105,000 miles Volvo recommends. Now, Volvo's not recommending this at the end of its life. Chances are it'll go another 20,000 miles without any problem. That's 20% longer. I wouldn't stretch it no longer than that. But yeah, I would throw a tensioner on there and run it till the right tensioner comes in. That should not be a problem. Water pump and belt, you change that stuff. I do water pumps every 10 years or 500,000 miles, whichever comes first. Belts I do as often as I can need to. If you're not in extreme heat on that car, probably every 100,000 is fine. Hey, Rebecca. Um, what else we got here? Oh, yeah. I believe y'all got great fishing in Montana. Somebody said they had the hole style sensors, the cylinder type with the heater element in the middle. Okay, yeah, that's probably 740 era stuff, 240 stuff. Yeah, those things can be cleaned, but most of the people that have those 240s and 740s and those style mass airflow sensors, they say leave those things alone. They say the little wire in there heats itself up to a high temperature and burns anything off of them, so they should never need to be cleaned. So I hope that helps. So anyway, again, I'm going to ride out this little flu thing. They gave me some. Oh, that reminds me. Hold on, I'll be right back. I'm boiling water for my Theraflu. Be right back. Yeah, that water was gone. Whew. Just got there just in time. The water was just simmering at the bottom. So anyway, got some more water boiling. But yeah, I'm gonna get this little flu bug behind me, get back on my myself with the superfood and maybe some juice and some stuff like that. I need to do some juicing today and hit the road. So the plans for this trip is to start out in Chicago, and man, those bumpers look really good. I hadn't fitted one of those R bumpers on my 850 yet, but I plan on doing that soon. And those R bumpers are going to be nice. Uh, they don't have that extra bracket in there on there, but I don't really think that's that necessary. The other aftermarket bumpers that I've seen on those 850Rs didn't have that either. They had no issues. But it's got more of the mounting points on different parts of it. It's a nice piece. I'm looking forward to putting that on a car. If somebody needs some help getting one of those to them, trying to save a little bit on that shipping, man. I'm not sure, but I think they're like 600 or 700 bucks without shipping. So if you can go to or through the Chicago area, pick one up yourself, maybe pick one up for you and your buddies. You guys make the road trip worthwhile, and you save on that shipping. If you have me do it, I might ask you for a few dollars to help with some gas, or if I have enough of them to rent a U-Haul, then the U-Haul may be, 100 and, I don't know, usually they're about anywhere from 135 bucks to 280 bucks for me to take a U-Haul trailer across country. So that wouldn't be bad. Help share that expense among 4 or 5 people. Get that shipping down, man. If we can get these things for 600, 700 bucks and then pay, $100 for shipping instead of $400 or $500 for shipping, we're winning. Then you got a bumper that's pristine, brand new, ready to paint, make that car a show car again. Excuse me, let me go get my tea. If it annoys you for me to sip my little flu concoction here, my Theraflu stuff, I understand if you have to log off. Let me check on a couple of these messages that people have sent. Excuse me. I was thinking to use carb cleaner. Do not use carb cleaner or any kind of brake part cleaner, none of that stuff on your mass airflow sensor. I wouldn't even take the chance of doing that. Do, 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 do. S80 96 LG non-turbo wiring diagram for high beams and low beams. S80s, I don't know what the 96 means. Maybe you meant '06. But, man, do get a wiring diagram for that. Not good to hack around with wiring on those cars. Volvos don't like people hacking around with the wires. I don't know why they got your cars wired differently than some others. This only works if you got your high beams on. This only works if your low beams on, that kind of stuff. But man, I cringe when I go in there and see somebody's been hacking around with those wires. But anyway, somebody said, glad to have you here in North Carolina. A 95 940 just burning raw gas when I started up. If that thing is running rich like that, something is gone. Some sensor's gone bad where it's defaulting to run rich. Maybe your O2 sensor's gone, or your mass airflow sensor's gone, or your coolant temp sensor could be gone. That could cause it to do that. Volvo 940s in the house. Somebody said they have an 850 turbo sedan that runs well, except that it has a smoking dipstick. How do I fix that? Most, most, most of my videos tell you don't use that dipstick, smoking, whatever as any kind of indication that anything is good or bad. I don't I don't get it. I don't know who started that. I wish I could pay them to stop or just pull that off the internet. Man, don't use that dipstick for anything other than checking your oil level. I don't know why people start doing that. If your engine is running, your engine temperature is 200 degrees Fahrenheit, somewhere around 90 degrees Celsius, whatever that is. 93 degrees or 97 degrees, I don't know. But just like up that I have here, this is a couple hundred degrees, 200 degrees. The atmosphere is 70 degrees. It's smoking. If the engine temperature is hotter than the ambient temperature, it should smoke. So that's normal. So I don't get it, I don't get it. If your climate is dry, you probably won't see any smoke. If your climate is moist, you probably will see smoke. I don't know. I don't know the difference. I get these messages a lot, and I think they're kind of a waste of my time. Now, most people talk about the smoking dipstick, whatever, as a indication that your PCV system is clogged up. Now, if you just pull a dipstick out and some smoke's coming out, I think that's normal. If the smoke is blasting out of there like a steam engine train, maybe you got a problem with the PCV system. Again, the best way to check that, to drive the car for 3 or 4 minutes, get it up to temperature, coolant wise. It's at least 140 degrees oil temp. Park the car on a level surface. Once the car is on a level surface, leave it running. Open the hood, get a rubber glove, take the oil cap off, the oil fill cap off while it's running, put the glove over it, and try to trap that air on that oil fill hole. If the glove starts to suck in, the PCV system's good. If the glove tries to inflate, the PCV system is clearly bad. If it does neither sucks in or inflates, it's going bad because it should have vacuum on that. There's so much inches of mercury vacuum that should be on that. Volvo has a tool that is kind of like an oil cap. They set it on there, they start the car, and they look at the reading on the gauge. If the gauge has so much inches of mercury of vacuum pulling on that cap, then the system is good. If there's pressure or no vacuum on it, they say the PCV system needs to be serviced. So that's what it is. Other than this dipstick smoking stick, and people say, yeah, I got it. Listen, when I purchased Panther was owned by a fireman for many years. It was like 3 years old when this fire chief bought the car up in the Boston area, somewhere up there, Massachusetts, and he used to run the car to the fires. He was proud of his Volvo. Transmission went out, so he parked it. Long story short, I ended up with it. He changed that oil every 3,000 miles, but he wasn't using full synthetic oil. He was using dyno oil, regular motor oil, no synthetic. The engine was solid. It had no wear in it. However, because that car is a turbo and that gets hot sometimes in this PCV system, the PCV system was plugged up 80%. 80% plugged up. When I pulled that breather box off, I almost could not get anything. When I looked in there with the camera, it was 80%. I could barely get anything in that hole. And my dipstick did not smoke. So, you got an 80% clogged system with no smoking dipstick. The glove was inflating. So that please stop using pulling dipsticks or, I mean, that's like some guy sent me a message a day or two ago. He's looking at a 27-year-old car. The car's sitting idle and he's throttling it and asking me why there's smoke coming out the tailpipe. I'm surprised lung material's not coming out the tailpipe. That thing's almost 30 years old, and you sitting there with it idle. That's not normal use of a vehicle, first of all. Secondly, that catalytic converter has been collecting pollutants for 27, 28 years. You throttle that gas pedal, something should come out every time. I promise you. If you step on my foot, my back, my shoulder, my anything, I'm going to blow some smoke out. Somewhere. There's some smoke coming out. So, get the cars, do the test that I recommend doing when you're looking at purchasing a car, and buy it or don't. You're looking at $1,000 vehicle that's $1,000. That's $27,000 off the original price. And it's almost 30 years old. It's just not going to be like new. But, I hope that makes sense. It's just a mess. So, I don't worry about it. I don't know if my dipstick smoke or not. I don't worry about it. I get in it. I check the oil level. I fill it up with gas. I drive it 5 hours to Chicago. When I get done in Chicago, I don't even check the oil. I fill it up with gas. I drive all the way to Oklahoma City. 12 hours. I check the oil again. I get in it. I drive to Albuquerque. Never check the dipstick. I haven't checked to see if my dipstick smoked once, and I've had that car 3 years. Panther, man, the only time I'm going to be worried about something smoking is when I'm in California and the police is behind me. Because they will jack your car out there for polluting up the environment. Now, I had to park Panther because the rings were worn out in Panther, and I'm driving around California and smoking up the whole community. Check my compression. My compression was in the low 120s, 130s. Because of the turbo, it still had all the power it needed, but that engine's worn out. I went a couple of very long extended oil changes, which probably did it in. But at 540,000 miles, it was due. It was due. So that's that. Let me see if I got it. Do the glove test. If you pass the glove test, don't worry about that dipstick, man. Please. Also did the oil sump clean because there was a lot of gunk. Shouldn't be no gunk in the engine. Still, oil gets dark after a couple hundred miles. That's a good point. I'm glad you mentioned that. These are combustion engines. If your oil is doing its job, after a few hundred miles, it should get dirty. My oil, when I drain my oil after 1,000 miles of driving, for whatever reason I drain it for, that oil is black. But you send it to the lab says it's still 90% good. So I'm not real concerned about the color of the oil. And in a combustion engine, that oil should be getting dirty, especially if it's doing its job. It's got all these additives in it, cleaners in it, seal conditioners in it, and it's being pumped throughout that engine. When you're up around 4 or 5,000 RPMs, like I sometimes am, that thing's at 110 psi. It's shooting through that engine, hopefully cleaning it all out. So when I pull my dipstick, it may look a little clear on the dipstick, but when I pull that drain plug to do whatever, changing the sensor out or something like changing the turbo or whatever, I expect it to be black after about 500-600 miles. It's be getting dark. After 1,000 miles, it should be black. That's just my take. So if you're concerned about what's going on in your engine, drop an oil sample, send it to an oil lab, let them give you a report on what condition the oil's in and what materials are in that oil, i.e., is something wearing out in that engine. One time I sent a lab test in on one of my cars, and they told me I had a major vacuum intake vacuum leak. They said deal with it because it's wearing your engine out fast. So in like 30,000 miles, I put about 200,000 miles of wear on the engine because I had a hole in my intake pipe that I forgot to plug. Now, I was having issues with my idle, but I really wasn't paying attention. It was still running fine. It's like my idle's high. I wonder why. Well, that's why. It was sucking in desert dirt, and I was putting wear on the engine. The lab told me that. I may not have got a grip on that had I not have sent that oil lab test in. Like $30. Send it in. If you're doing your own maintenance, that's nothing. Drop in the bucket. Then again, after 5,000 miles, you can get your lab results back, see how much oil additives are still left, and decide if you want to do extended oil changes. Now, on all the cars I own, I try to do 7,500 mile oil changes. When I do that, I send the oil to the lab. It still got 40% of life left in it. Sometimes 55%. When I go 10,000 miles, I've had up to 35% life left still in the oil. A lot of these oil jugs you buy, especially full synthetic, they say 15,000 mile oil change guaranteed. That means they believe that their product will have more than 15% life left at 15,000 miles. So you can go 15,000 miles between oil changes and not cause any wear in your engine. Let me let that sit there for a second. Because a lot of you people are still on your grandpa's old Chevy oil change cycle to miles. When you drop that oil in 2,000 miles, put it in a container and set it aside. So when I come by, I can pick that up and use it the rest of the way. I'll be glad to get it. You know, I'm mostly running 1040. Sometime I run 1030 because the owner's manual recommends it. So if you have that kind of oil, please save it for me. Another thing is, excuse me. The last time I changed Panther's oil, I put in Walmart brand oil. I've seen a couple mechanics using it, and I kind of laughed at them for doing it, and they laughed at me back. They said Walmart's not trying to get sued from hundreds of thousands of people using their oil. So I decided to throw it in Panther. It was handy. That's what I had. It was easy to get. I wasn't running around trying to find other oil. It was the weight I wanted. I put it in there. I kept it topped up with that oil. I did an oil change at the end of that cycle, sent a sample into the lab. That was the cleanest lab results that I have ever gotten on any of my cars. Less wear particles in the oil than any other oil. That was the Walmart oil. Now, hey man, I appreciate you stopping by. Have a good day. I'm still favoring the Mobile One 1040 because it's easy for me to get 1040 Mobile One, and some of these other oils it's not. But 1040, you know, Walmart oil did great, so I'm not really stuck on what oil brand. What is my opinion about engine flush? Man, I stay on these topics too long. I don't flush anything. Man, I believe if you put what's supposed to be in there and run it normally, it will clean and do its job. For example, oil will clean and lubricate. Transmission fluid will clean, keep it cool, and lubricate. Fuel will give you the octane you need, lubricate a little bit, and keep your fuel injectors clean. You know, I'm not a big let's put some flush in there guy. If you got to put some flush in there, I'd rather get another engine than have to flush an engine. And when you talk about flushing, I assume you're talking about stuff that has gunk in it, sludge in it, stuff. And most of those parts are worn out because they've got to that point. So I'm not a flush guy. I'm really not any snake oil miracle in a bottle guy of anything. I'm just not. I'm just fix it or keep feeding that thing until you can fix it. Volvo all-wheel drive has a leaking turbo return line, but I don't think it causes the 1 gallon oil use. It emits white smoke after 5 minutes with the original turbo. Is this serious? When it comes to oil leaks and other fluid leaks, if you can fill it up quicker than it leaks out, you're fine. Now, coolant leaks normally go from minor to catastrophic. I try not to play with coolant leaks. You get a little leak, and the little leak is tinkering around, and then boom, the part explodes. Now you got pull over immediately, shut the engine off, or you're going to blow your head gasket. But some of these other leaks, they start minor, and sometimes you can trickle along and until you can't fill it up quicker than it's leaking out. Of course, nobody likes leaving a mess everywhere they park, but a gallon every 2,500 miles, that's a lot. If you're going through a quart every 500 miles or 1,000 miles, that's something that needs to be dealt with. The turbo drain is not that difficult. You just need to have what do you call that? Loose jointed or something to get that thing in on those all-wheel drive vehicles. Man, that thing will make you want to pull the all-wheel drive system just to get that drain line back in. So it's it ain't easy, but it can be done. Yeah, if it's smoking, that may be smoke from it hitting the exhaust or something like that. It'll probably get worse, and you'll have to deal with it. You know, it just if it pops out, that seal pops out, you have to deal with it. Just hopefully you won't blow your turbo or your engine. So uh, I guess carb cleaner can be removed from mass airflow sensor with the mass airflow sensor cleaner. But the question is, how carb cleaner get in there? You know, carb cleaner should be way downstream from that mass airflow sensor. That mass airflow sensor is in the beginning of the airflow. Captain Chop trying to fix her up. What do you think about using oil in the... Man, when it comes to oil viscosity, I'm not a fan of messing around with those numbers. 040 and a 940, there ain't no way I would do that. 0, of course, is the weight when it's cold. 40 is the weight when it's warm. At 0 weight, that's super thin. You're talking about a car that has a 1,000,000 mile engine out in 100,000 miles. I've actually heard of people 60,000. They were running 530 instead of 10. All of this hinges of your environment. Of course, if you're on the North Pole in Greenland or something like that, 040 may be fine. But if you're close to the equator, like Alabama, Florida, or Texas, you might want to run 2040 or 2050. Just use your viscosity scale in your owner's manual. That's the safest thing to do. Man, I got a whole rant video about that. I wouldn't do it. 850, 30 years old. I did a whole suspension, rear axle, ignition, PC line, injectors. What I need to change after all these years makes sense. Man, most of that stuff, absolutely. Rear axle. I don't know what the rear axle is on there. I can see hubs maybe. Those hubs, if they're not been abused like mine's are, they're fine. You can keep running. Suspension parts, anything rubber, man. Those subframe bushings, a good thing to change after all this time. Those hydraulic mounts, about half of the hydraulic mounts that I see nowadays are destroyed. They're not absorbing the vibrations of those engines and stuff. So, yeah, it makes sense, man. And I just did some suspension on a guy's car the other day, and that car hadn't been driven much in the last 10 years, probably 1,000 miles in the last 10 years. He is raving about how nice that car is driving right now. You know, and we did front struts, rear shocks, front strut mounts, and maybe one engine mount. That was it. You do the subframe bushings and those hydraulic mounts and that other front engine mount, that car be running like a dream. It is amazing how well they run. Now, when you're putting money into these cars, I really recommend you document it. There are people contacting me and they have me come to their location and they're rebuilding these cars. I'm talking about putting $20,000, $30,000 into their cars. Of course, I'm not charging them that much, but if they put those items into a calculator from an insurance company or a repair shop, they would say, man, this guy just put 25 G's into this car in a week. You document that stuff, and if something happens to the car, you pull out your documentation, because at some point, your insurance company is responsible for restoring your loss. So they just can't toss you a bone. One of my buddies got a check from Geico for somewhere around $23,500 or $25,300, something like that. Somebody caused him to wreck his car in his accident. It's full coverage. Boom, wrote him a check about 25 G's for his 850 wagon T5 with a lot of money put into it. Brake systems done, transmission converted to manual, all that kind of stuff. He got paid, and I typically don't let them give me change when something happens to one of my cars. Now, if the car was trash, I'm not going to sit there and fight them for a big check. But if the car is nice, I'm going to fight for them. Man, I'll laugh at them. But do document stuff that you're doing to these cars so that you're doing all right. Mark III Supra, whoop whoop. You a clown blowing smoke. Man, I do have smoke. So I understand your view. But it don't say you're a Volvo guy, so hopefully you won't see me on the road and try to bust a move and get spanked by an old Volvo, Mark. I just bought a 98 V70 turbo. Your alternator video was a, but back to my 95 brick. Does it have two temp sensors? Well, I think it only has one coolant temp sensor. I'm not 100% sure. You can check with the. I just did mine, helped a lot. Mass airflow sensor with the appropriate computer as well as make sure the variance on the voltage when driving. A lot of people don't know how to check those mass airflow sensors while they're on the fly with live data, so that's kind of hard for people to do. Well, on my lab results from my lab, I ordered what's called a TBN. And the TBN tells them and me how much additives, conditioners, whatever, is still left in the oil. And they say 50. Now, my friction, that's about your viscosity. It also has a viscosity report, whether the oil is still at 1040 or has it gone up to 1550 or whatever. Because as your additives deplete, your oil thickens. Now, the time I accidentally went way over my oil change on Panther, when I pulled that drain plug out, that stuff came out like chocolate pudding. It was thick. It was probably like 3080 if I had to guess. But anyway, that's what that oil lab place explained to me. I don't know if you've worked at a oil lab or not. I actually visited the place and had them explain things to me. So that's what I came out of it. And I could be mistaken, but that's what my report said. I got a couple reports right here. Need to go late Switzerland. If you're using synthetic, 7,500 miles is okay, but 5,000 is a lot better. If you're using conventional oil, you should be changed every 3,000 miles. Man, Born Joker, Volvo is recommending 10,000 mile oil changes on most of their vehicles. Oil is not like it was 20 years ago, and these engine tolerance is not like they were 20, 30, 40 years ago. I hear you, but I mean, at the end of the day, if you get 500,000 miles out of an engine while what can attest. So I typically don't listen to get me to do 3, 5,000 mile oil change. When I'm doing 7,500 and 10,000 mile oil changes and I'm running up to 500,000 miles, that make it make sense. Now I do a lot of highway driving. That may vary for somebody that's doing all city driving. That's why it's a good idea to send your oil to the lab. Car cleaner should evaporate. Yep, it should. Do you know 2 plus 2 equals 5? It refers to its performance and temperature. Doesn't matter unless you're in a very cold environment. My brother just got a 960, 1996. Man, I used to love those 960s, but I'm kind of afraid of them now because you can't get parts for them. The issue is there is residue on the metal elements that sit alongside the cylinder barrel. Put a little rubbing alcohol on the Q-tip, clean it off. Do do do. I don't know if you're heated, but if they need to be cleaned, performance issues, car cleaner. Gray can is pricey. My MAP sensor has mesh screen on both sides of the housing. It's the barrel type. They also recommend synthetic oil. 10,000 mile me if you use synthetic oil and filter that's suggest. Yeah, a lot of these oil companies, man, they're really telling people they can go 10, 15, some 20,000 miles between oil changes. And again, your driving conditions vary. That'll make a difference. I tell people to, hey, proceed with caution. Run a couple oil changes, get it tested at a lab, and go from there. That's the best thing to do. Mm-mm-mm. don't do live often, but this has been, I guess, pretty decent. Just want to kind of let you guys know where I'm at. And hey, hope you all having a good day. Spring is definitely on us. Summer's around the corner. Hope you get to go to some car events, clean up your car, go to a couple shows. If they're grading cars and you have a nice car, make sure you fill out that form. Even if you don't win, you want to make sure you're graded there. Throw that information in your file and let people know, hey, this was a show car. I took this car to car shows. You know, in the event something happens, accident, something like that. You want to protect your investment as best you can. Born Joker. He's got the true synthetic oil thing going on. Man, some people, you know, I guess AMS oil, is that true synthetic oil? I don't know. But when they're labeling something at the department store or auto parts store full synthetic, it's likely going to be better than the non-synthetic stuff, you know. And from my understanding, it's about molecules, stuff like that. But hey, I believe you. You know, there's probably more pure, more technically clean or whatever oils out there. But you know, your regular guy going to the store buying his oil from auto parts store, you know, we're not going to be straining over how pure of a synthetic is going on with these things. We're just not, you know. We're going to get what they say is full synthetic, use it, move on. And like I said, when you're getting more than 500,000 miles with a car with it, it's probably good enough. I don't know many people that's expecting to get more than 500,000 miles out of their engine in their car. So, all right. Just use Mobile One. There really isn't anything else worth using. Mobile One was kind of the first ones in the, I guess we want to call it, end user market to really be marketing full synthetic oil or synthetic oil. They've been doing it since I was a kid, man. The first time I seen Mobile One come on the scene, I think I was like 16 years old, and I'm 61 now. That's been a long time. So I'm gonna wrap this up. I gotta run an errand probably here in a few minutes to pick something up and come back and get a little more rest. Hopefully run my juicer and get my health in a better shape. So I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Have a great day.